let's look at what the role of entrepreneurs actually looks like here in Canada.
To begin, it's important to understand the differences between entrepreneur and entrepreneurship, as these terms are often used interchangeably. An entrepreneur is the individual behind the business. They identify opportunities, turn ideas into ventures, and make key decisions to shape the company. Successful entrepreneurs are typically visionary, resilient, creative, and willing to take calculated risk. They're responsible for managing resources, leading product development, and building company culture, as well as taking ownership of the business's successes and failures. Entrepreneurship, on the other hand, is a process of creating and growing a business. It includes every stage of the journey, from generating an idea, developing a business plan, to securing funding, launching products, and achieving long-term growth. Unlike the entrepreneur, entrepreneurship involves many stakeholders, including teams, investors, advisors, and a broader startup ecosystem. A simple example would be a coffee shop. The person who starts and owns the coffee shop is the entrepreneur, as they identify the opportunity, make business decisions, and lead the company, while entrepreneurship is the entire process of turning that idea into a successful business. Researching the market, writing a business plan, securing funding, and finding a location, hiring employees, and continuing to grow the cafe over time is what makes it an entrepreneurship. The key difference is that an entrepreneur is the person, while entrepreneurship is the process. Entrepreneurs influence the direction and success of a single venture, whereas entrepreneurship has a broader impact by driving innovation, creating jobs, and supporting economic growth and contributing to social progress.
Canada doesn't just talk about entrepreneurship, it builds infrastructure around it. Small businesses make up about 98% of all employer businesses in Canada. So when we talk about the role of entrepreneurs in society, in Canada, we're actually talking about the backbone of our economy. The government backs this up in concrete ways. The Business Development Bank of Canada, or BDC, exists specifically to give entrepreneurs financial and advisory support that regular banks often won't. On top of that, Canada has a network of regional innovative clusters, government-funded hubs that connect startups in specific sectors, whether that's AI in Montreal, clean tech out west, or AG tech in the prairies. So entrepreneurs aren't building alone, they're plugged into a whole regional support system. This actually connects back to a bigger economic idea. The economist Joseph Schumpeter argued that entrepreneurs are the primary engine of economic renewal. They're the ones who drive what he called creative destruction, replacing old ways of doing things with better ones. Canada's economy is really just a country trying to systematically fuel that engine. So the takeaway here is, in Canada, entrepreneurship isn't left to chance, it's treated as a national priority.
How entrepreneurs fit in the entrepreneurial process. In this course, we learned about the Timmins model, which states that every venture is built on three things. 1, an opportunity, 2, resources, and finally, a team. The entrepreneur's job is to keep those three all in balance, and their role in society shows up in all three corners of the triangle. Let's start with the opportunity. Opportunities come from problems in society. These are things such as unmet needs, gaps in the market, and stuff that doesn't work that well. So the process begins with the entrepreneur looking at society and finding something they think is worth fixing. Timmins puts creativity on this side of the triangle, and we see the societal role in action where the entrepreneur sees a problem and imagines a better way of doing something. Next, we have resources. Entrepreneurs can pull together money, people, and use of technology and be able to put them to more productive use than they had been used before. And that's a benefit to society. They turn capital that was once sitting still to fund jobs and new products. And since the model says that the venture operates within capital market context and exogenous forces, entrepreneurs are constantly responding to what's happening in society and not just working alone. Finally, we have the team. The team is directly creating jobs and helping develop people and their skill sets. Timmins puts leadership on this side, and this leadership is what goes way past just the company alone. Founders often mentor others, and employees often leave to start their own ventures in the future, and these skills will spread throughout the economy. In the middle of the triangle is the business plan, and the business plan manages the fits and gaps between all three of the triangle. This balancing is what turns a societal problem into a payoff. We can see an example of Shopify. This Canadian company had founders that had spotted an opportunity of bad e-commerce software. They pulled together resources to build their own and eventually grew a large team. Today, this venture now supports millions of small businesses. So in summary, the Timmins model, the entrepreneur sits at the center, holding the opportunity, resources, and the team all together, and society can benefit from every corner of this triangle.
Up next, I'm going to be talking about barriers entrepreneurs face. These include financial, market, and operational challenges. First of all, financial challenges can make it difficult to start and grow a business. Entrepreneurs may struggle to get loans or investors, so many rely on their own savings. They also need to manage the cash flow carefully to pay expenses such as rent, supplies, and employee wages. The next challenge is the market. Entrepreneurs must determine whether customers actually want their product or service. They also have to compete with well-established businesses and convince people to trust a new company. Airbnb is a prime example of this. When it first started, many people were uncomfortable with the idea of staying in a stranger's home or allowing strangers into their property. Airbnb addressed this challenge by introducing detailed profiles, photographs, guest and host reviews, identity verification, secure payments, and other safety measures. These features help people feel more confident and can create a trust between hosts and guests. By listening to customers and continuously improving its platform, Airbnb turned an unfamiliar idea into a widely used service. Today it operates in more than 220 countries and regions and has over 1.5 billion guest arrivals. This shows how understanding a market challenge and responding to customer concerns can contribute to long-term success. Finally, there are operational challenges. Entrepreneurs must manage the daily side of business, including employees, customer orders, supplies, and product quality. As the business grows, these responsibilities can become more and more difficult to control. Overall, entrepreneurs need strong planning, good decision-making, and the ability to adapt when challenges arise.
The role of entrepreneurs in society goes beyond scale and revenue. So let's look at the social side too. Tariq Hadid and his family owned a chocolate factory in Damascus, Syria until it was destroyed during the war. In 2015, they arrived in Antigonish, Nova Scotia, as refugees. Instead of starting over from nothing, they leaned on what they knew, and in 2016, they restarted the family chocolate business from their kitchen, calling it Peace by Chocolate. The company has since created dozens of local jobs in the small Nova Scotia town and became a national symbol of what refugee resettlement can look like when a community rallies around it. It's even been turned into a feature film. This entrepreneurship did more than build companies, it rebuilt lives and communities, demonstrating the valuable role entrepreneurs play in Canadian society. So why does any of this matter? Because entrepreneurs aren't just people who start businesses for their own benefit, they're the mechanism society relies on to solve real problems, create jobs, and push ideas into the world. Shopify scaled into a platform that supports entrepreneurs everywhere. Peace by Chocolate rebuilt jobs and hope in one small town. Same underlying force, two completely different kinds of impact. And Canada, through programs like BDC and the innovation clusters we just covered, invest in both of them.